I'm Rob Sarney, and you're listening to What the Heck Fintech, where you'll experience and learn that fintech is fin life. Let's get started. Welcome back to part 2 with Bernice Tsewole. If you didn't hear part 1, please go back and listen to it to hear Bernice's background, how she grew up all around the world, and how she met world leaders that really shaped her mindset and her success in her future career. Let's get back to, finance. Great, you graduated. So now with the job market, right? I'd love to hear your take. Everyone has a different, it might be easy for you, it might be hard. A lot of students are having a hard time, just connecting and finding jobs. How about a little bit of your journey and what you did and what you learned in that year or so, right, when you got back? And what's the job? How do you see the job market? Because you see it I'm retired, so I see it very differently. How do you see the job market right now? Just because what you're seeing and how you've applied to jobs and all that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that on an objective level, looking at the statistic, the situation, isn't necessarily the best, obviously, and, it kind of is what it is at the same point, at the same time. I think I also really, to everything, especially when I'm looking at negative situations, I will come in with the belief okay, well, I am going to be the exception, and even if maybe I'm facing the same experiences, I can always choose to control my mindset, and how I react to things and how I respond to things. And so I remember, as I said, even before I was, I graduated, I was applying to jobs. And so I was applying to jobs and, wasn't really getting anything. Maybe was getting some interviews here and there. I actually did interview at the White House, which is pretty cool also. But didn't get the job, but it's okay. And honestly, I think it worked out for the best because it gave me the opportunity, for a few months where I was okay, I've, been working, I have some savings, I don't have a job yet, and I still need to be in Europe because I have my graduation. So let me just travel a month, and that was always something that I really dreamed of, taking Euro trips and really exploring the world. And it came to a point where I was okay, well, no one's ever going to go with me. Or I don't want to wait for someone else to go with me. My friends, when I, asked them, sometimes they would come, but, everybody has such a busy life, and I was I don't want to be a passenger in my own life. I'm just going to go, And so I did these solo trips and it was really amazing. And that was a good experience. I came back, I graduated, was still applying throughout all of this, not really hearing much back. So I was whatever. I wasn't really thinking about it as much. Then once I moved back, I was such a different story because I didn't really have anything to kind of distract me or I guess take away from, maybe the situation that I was really trying to be positive out of. I didn't have, my friend directly around me anymore. I didn't have this city that I knew directly around me anymore. I was in a completely new environment and, it really kind of became my all-encompassing purpose, for a while. And I think that, I mean, it was tough at so many points, putting in so many applications, going through so many interviews, kind of getting excited so many times to then get shut down or ghosted or, whatever. And also, honestly, having so many I guess gut-wrenching situations happen as well, where you're just why is this happening, or why is this not working out? That being said, everything is about your mindset, and I truly believe that the best outcome was coming to me. And like I said, during this time, I really just made the most out of it. So I knew that, okay, I'm really into business. I'm really into entrepreneurship. I would love to start and have my own company one day. So what are things that I can do now to set myself up for the future? And I'm really a big fan of the Hormozis, especially Leila Hormozi. And I remember watching one of her videos and she talked about how she really learned how to sell when she was at Subway. And so I remember thinking okay, I had been also applying even to part-time positions. And I remember that I used to work at Victoria's Secret like a few years earlier, and I was like, oh my gosh, like let me call up my old manager. And so I gave them a call. Like, there's like a meme that's like when moms say, oh, just give them a call, like you never know what could happen. And so I was like, oh my gosh, hi, like, I'm Bernice. I don't know if you remember me. I worked with you a few years back. And, I just wanted to let you know that I just applied. And she was like, oh my gosh, I remember you. You were such a doll to work with. You don't need to interview. I'm just going to send you your like the offer letter. And that also was such a, lesson for me about how, people remember you and like the way that you behave and the way that you make them feel and the way that you showed up as well. And so I felt just so good, like already coming in. I mean, I hadn't been there in a while, so I knew that there was so much to learn, but I was just so excited. And I was like, I'm going to make the most out of this experience. Like my quote that I always say is, fortune favors the bold, but I'm so conscious and aware that, our most valuable resource, and the resource that we can never get back, in life is time. So I really have to believe that if I want to do something, then I really want to do it to the best of my ability and invest, like throw myself into it in the best way possible. So even going in, like I remember some of my coworkers like thought I was like a bit crazy because the most people take maybe like 15 or 20 minutes for like the introduction to the company, and I literally took 2 hours. I was like taking notes. I was like really reading through this, and those first few months there, like I would go home every day. Like I would study broads, like I would take photos of them. I would study the product. I would study the company, the company's history, and then also looking at like, customer interactions, like how to be more approachable, mastering, the skills, whether that was like recommending things to people, measuring people, all of this stuff. And really also like putting that into practice. So doing this also like, upskilling myself as well, going to so many like volunteering events, and also just really want to take a moment to say like there's so many people who also helped me, like literally like the BNT, the Techstars team, Jason, Shweta, Steve, even Mark, Top Contenders, Meg, as I said before, like there's so many people who like just went out of their way to help me so many times, and gave me so many opportunities, and trying to make the most out of these opportunities as well. Like being able to be in these rooms, like, with these experts, like, it didn't matter like what I was doing in them. I was always trying to soak up as much as I could and putting these things into practice myself, like upskilling on AI, like building companies, building pages for companies, like just trying to give value to people and build my experience through that way. And there's so many things that I kind of did during this time. And all of that is to say, like, I really just like took every moment for what I could and what it was worth and made the best out of each moment. And even though I wasn't expecting it, but especially all of these volunteering events actually really helped me, because by the time that, I got to like my now job interview, I had number one, like so much practice because I'd been through so many interviews before. I had also reached a point where like I was, I knew exactly what I wanted, and so there were like some opportunities that I was like, this is a great opportunity, but I know that it's not for me, and eventually I feel like I really found like, honestly, like the perfect place for me. Like I really love like the team. I love the leadership, and I love like the mission. It's a place where I'm working at like Loxa now, but even looking at the company values, it's about people and vision and changing the industry and creating something that's lasting over just like profit, but it's like you can also do both. So that's also fun too.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, and I love your mindset, the way you're talking about it. And one thing I always say to younger people, which naturally, also, when you're in the work world, take those jobs no one wants.
Yeah.
Because bottom line, they're going to be hard. Everyone's that's going to be so hard. I don't know if I want that. Well, everyone else has tried and they haven't done well. That's why it's available. So you take those jobs that no one wants, and then if you just make it good, you're going to look great, because it's hard work, right? You're taking on a challenging customer or and the learning is huge for that next level in your career. And the thing I also love in that story you talked about was, I think a lot of students these days don't do this. You did some retail, right? So
Yeah.
interacting with real customers and talking with them, and what's their challenge? The products change, the people don't change. They have
Yeah.
needs, they have goals, they have whatever. They're looking for a product to do X, Y, and Z, but it might be to help them to do something totally different that you don't know
Yeah.
until you have that conversation. It's like that in IT. It's like that at all the retail jobs that you've been at. And that learning is huge, and people underestimate that. Like, I scooped ice cream when I was and that's by doing the window and talking to people, and you just learn. People get upset at you. People
Yeah.
happy they got an ice cream. So it depends, right? And just how people react. You feed off that energy, and then also you can learn from that if the energy is not is challenging too. So it's
Yeah.
just, I love that you learn that naturally. Is that, yeah, put yourself in difficult situations and learn, and because it's going to help you, even though it doesn't seem connected, it's all connected because we're all people, right?
Yeah. No, 110%. I think also like one thing I did ever since I was like super young is I would always interview people who I wanted to be like in some way, So like even I would just ask people if I could interview them. And I noticed that across all these people, who I in my own way saw as successful. I saw them as successful because they had traits that I wanted to have, that I wanted to develop, as I grew in the world. And one of the things that they always said was like, having a low ego and being able to show up and bring value in whatever way that you can. And I was thinking about like, my sports career and how sometimes, especially when I was new to a team or when I was really not that skilled, the one thing I could bring was like the energy, cheering my team on, like providing value in some way. I remember I was volunteering for 𝐵𝐸𝐺 and there was like this like cord running across the ground, and the technology team built this like really clunky, almost like speed bump, like right next to the entrance. And so many people were tripping over it and falling. And they were like, okay, your job is literally to tell people like, hey, like watch out, make sure that people don't trip. And literally for like 4 hours, I was, of course, letting people know not to trip. But there's so many people who, tripped and literally like catching people, like, helping people. And really seeing like also the value in what I'm providing as well, because obviously like we don't want anyone to get hurt at this event. Like if someone gets hurt, like that's a whole, issue within itself. And just really seeing like, what do I have? How can I help this person? Like, how can I make this person's life easier, and yeah, just showing up in the best way that you can and showing up for your team.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's great. So let's see here. So I'm going to ask you kind of a longer term, and we're these are going to be kind of rapid questions.
Okay.
And I'm going to hit you up on a bunch of different topics, so the audience can really get to learn even more from you. So, what do you want to be in 5 to 10 years? Like, what's your gut reaction? And you can say, I have no idea, Rob. What are you talking about?
No, I definitely know. So in 5 years, I am currently, building my personal brand. And in 5 years, I would really love to at least feel a lot more like established, like have a lot more reps in, as I could say, in terms of building, my values, building like who I am, sharing my story with the world, but also sharing about like, what I'm doing and yeah, like how others can help and how I can help other people. And in 10 years, I would love to have my own company that I'm running and that, yeah, is doing well, and just have, honestly, a happy and healthy life. Like, I feel like those are really like the things that are, most important to me. And that's like my first gut reaction when I think about where I want to be in 10 years.
That's a great target. Yeah. I can't wait to see that.
Thank you.
Now, how about so what technology do you think is that we should focus on in the future? Because you're coming from, you grew up with a phone in your hand. I didn't, right?
Yeah.
So what, I mean, like a smartphone. Actually, I had a regular rotary phone. That's all I had, right, when I grew up. So what what do you focus on from a technology perspective? Because you get to hear a lot, you get to go to a lot of fintech events, right? You get to what's your gut reaction on that one?
Yeah. I really think that I think about the apps that you use in the every single day, the apps for the average consumer, because I think that those are the apps that really and those are the technologies that really change people's lives. And I say apps because my mind first goes to apps, and I think about even Rocket Money. That's like a fintech app that I use. That's like personal finance, and I think about my my habits, like my goals. Like for so long, I think I was like, I want to get better at my own money management. I want to get better at my own you really using money as like a tool to create the outcomes that I want in my life, and learning more about this, because studying finance is one thing, applying it to your own life is another thing, especially knowing that I want to be able to apply this to businesses too, you can't run a business with money if you can't efficiently run your own money first. So apps like Rocket Money. Also, I've gotten a lot more into trading, and there's Kalshi that I've been using especially for that. And I think that apps like this that allow you to not necessarily trade alone, but just allow these global marketplaces. I think that now more than ever, the world is so interconnected, and I don't think that that's really gonna slow down moving forward. And allowing people to exchange, whatever form it is, anywhere in the world, I think that's really powerful.
Wow, yeah. So I'm gonna give you some easier questions now. For all the places you lived, what's your favorite food? Where was it?
What was my favorite food? My brain goes to momos. They're these Nepalese dumplings. And I remember when I was younger, I was fortunate to go to Kathmandu, and it's such a beautiful city. And that's also, I think, where I'm gonna have my next trip to. But I remember, just eating the momos and just falling in love. And then I remember I was in London a few years ago, and they had them at a street market, and I ate them, and it was it brought me back to that moment when I was younger. And I feel like momos are really, really good. I also love I'm West African. I love especially Sierra Leonean food. There's so many different dishes like cassava leaf and jollof rice, and just it's very much home comfort food.
Wow, and momos. That's what you said? Momos?
Yes.
Have you ever seen momos in Massachusetts? Is there any place to get them or no?
I'm sure that there is. To be honest, I haven't really looked in Massachusetts, but I'm sure that there is. Especially in Boston, there has to be.
If you find it, let me know. I like to try. I eat anything. So I always like to try. Especially when I travel, I like to eat like the natives and eat whatever that from the beer or whatever is going on in that country. But Massachusetts, momos, I've never heard of that. So it's like dumplings, you said.
Yes, they're like dumplings. It's I feel like Nepalese culture is so interesting in general, and especially their food culture. There's so many Chinese influences, Tibetan influences, Indian influences, and then also, I mean, Nepal as a country, if I'm not wrong, their dynasty is thousands of years old, and they've been a pretty established nation, I want to say. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the history. And so it's just such a fascinating country.
How about this one now? What do you have a hobby? What's your hobby?
Honestly, I feel like I have a lot of hobbies. So I love singing. I feel like that's probably been my oldest hobby. I love dancing also, especially dancing to music from around the world. I love music in general, and one of my hobbies is listening to music from around the world, whether that's Polish drill, Afrobeats, classical music, or Russian tribal music. I love just hearing new things, hearing new sounds. I think it's so amazing, the diversity of humans, and our species. So really just exploring that through different sensations, whether that's music, food, or being there myself through travel. This is so specific, but literally in different countries, or depending where you are in the world, the air feels different, and the smells, the aromas, it's such a beautiful experience.
Wow, yeah, music is so powerful. I'm gonna give you. This got me thinking of a story that just happened yesterday for me.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I went to see Elf, the movie Elf,
Mm-hmm.
but it was at the Boston Symphony Orchestra, and
Oh
they
my God.
played all the music, and they
Mm.
had the old orchestra right there as they were showing the movie, and they played. And you think there's not much music in there. They played 80 to 85% of the time because there's all that background music. It was
Yeah.
so powerful hearing all that music from the Boston, symphony orchestra right there, like a huge, like the whole thing right in
Yeah.
their, in their house too, with the symphony hall. So it was very like powerful, not just watching the movie, but having a concert. And it was, wow, it was crazy. Yeah, you get it. Music, live music is just so powerful. And I love to go to concerts. I'm an 80s guy, so I go to 80s music. I'm trained.
Didn't you teach Michael Jackson how to moonwalk?
What did you say?
Didn't you
Oh
teach
yeah,
Michael?
yeah. That's yeah, I'm old enough to, but no, I wish I did for my. Yeah, it's a satire. Bernice is referring to a satire at the beginning of another video I've done, and I said how I changed the world in music, and one of the things I actually taught, which I really didn't, but I say I taught Michael Jackson how to do the moonwalk, and I had my one glove on, and I did it right next to him. So, but we'll put that to the side. So Bernice, unbelievable stories. You're an unbelievable person. You're learning every day. You're taking advantage of life. The words you shared with us. It's for whether people watching this are 8 or 108. Right? I really you just gave. Some people gave great reminders. Some people gave them great focus with your stories and what you're talking about and how you're talking about how you're approaching your life. I want to say, Bernice, thank you so much for doing What the Heck Fintech. And we tied it back with finance and fintech too, but it's more about the people and how and the networking you talked about and how you met like world leaders and it's all about networking and they're all just people.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, 110%. Thank you so much, Rob, for having me on the podcast. And just everything, I really believe everything happens for a reason. And I remember like that last day. I remember actually originally I wasn't planning on coming, but I remember you told me like you should come, and how there was gonna be like a career fair and everything. And someone also told me like you should go as well. And so I remember I was like, okay, you know what? I feel like I should go. Let me just go. And it ended up being like one of the best days like of my entire year. And I am so just fortunate to have you as a mentor as well. And thank you so much for having me today. And I'm just so grateful.
Awesome. Thank you. And we're going to keep talking, and I'm going to keep learning from you, and you're going to keep learning, hopefully, a little bit from me too. So,
Yeah.
I want to say thank you once again, and I want to say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to What the Heck Fintech. Make sure you tune into our next episode as we continue to interview fintech leaders and share real-world stories from across the fintech ecosystem so you can fully understand that fintech is fin life.